I'm convinced Ohio State Buckeyes offensive coordinator Chip Kelly drove longtime assistant Tony Alford out of there and ended up taking a job with Michigan. Let's explore this a little bit more behind the scenes. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you get $200 in bonus bets. If your first bet of $5 or more wins, visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and get started. So did Chip Kelly give the boot to a longtime assistant at Ohio State? And is Ryan Day okay with it? Also, Nebraska's athletic director is gone, and we'll look into the Big Ten tournament, which is well underway. We'll have our picks as well segment in the final segment of the podcast. So, are there problems in Columbus, Ohio? Now, during yesterday's podcast of Locked On Big Ten, in fact, you can go back and check it out. I highly encourage you. I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that longtime Ohio State running backs coach Tony Alford was leaving for the same job at Michigan. Just didn't make any sense to me. Then it finally dawned on me. It's possible that new offensive coordinator Chip Kelly drove him off, got him out of here, or Alford didn't want to work for Chip Kelly. Something like that, I think, happened. Maybe there was a personality conflict. Maybe Chip Kelly's style and demands didn't really fit what Alford was used to. But for some reason, Tony Alford, who had been a constant force on the Ohio State staff dating back to Urban Meyer in 2015 and was retained by Ryan Day, just suddenly bolted. Now, this time of year, to the Buckeyes' arch rival in Ann Arbor. None of this made sense. So I was thinking about this. And, the coaching carousel that we go through each and every year when coaches are hired and fired, look, that takes place between November and January, and then it's pretty much done at that point. We're in mid-March now. Spring football is happening. Things are ramping up. I mean, it's not the level of in-season, but it's close with spring football. Coaches almost never leave during this time of year. Never. It couldn't be about job performance, could it? Alford was the second longest tenured coach on the staff. He was one of the Buckeyes' best recruiters. I mean, think about how strong the Buckeyes' running game has been over the years with Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, and Travion Henderson, just to name a few. That was Alford's deal. Also, coaches don't usually leave to make a lateral move unless they have to. Alford's gone from a running back coach at Ohio State to a running back coach at Michigan. Also very strange. There's a lot of strange pieces to this puzzle. So we're trying to figure it out. Now, Michigan did have an immediate need on their staff. Former Michigan star running back and running back coach Mike Hart suddenly stepped down just last week for personal reasons. So Michigan had the opening. They were looking for somebody. But from what I can tell, Michigan head coach Sharon Moore and Tony Alford, they've never run or coached in the same circles. In fact, they've been rivals. Also consider the current landscape of the Big Ten. Ohio State right now, they seem to be next man up. They seem to be poised to make a big run and maybe grab a championship here. While Michigan, while they still may be good, look, they're losing at least 18 players to the NFL draft. At least that's how many went to the NFL Combine this past couple of weeks or a week ago. If not more, they may get more players, lose more players to the NFL. And they lost Jim Harbaugh. So you look at the two situations, Michigan, which was up here, Ohio State. I mean, which way's the momentum right now? And let's not forget another thing. Alford's going to Michigan where, let's be honest, there's still 2 NCAA investigations going on against Michigan. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what kind of penalties are going to come down after that. So you add all this up and you realize it doesn't add up. Something's weird. So I go back to my original question. Was there some sort of issue between offensive coordinator Chip Kelly and Tony Alford? Did Ryan Day give Chip Kelly the offensive coordinator job with the intent of executing Day's system? Or was Kelly brought in to shake things up and run the offense his way? His word is what is final. Kelly's discretion. It's something to think about here. And when you look at the history of Chip Kelly over the years, and he's been around the block a little bit, but obviously he came from UCLA where he was not happy, was begging to get out of there. He, of course, had a couple of stints at the NFL with the Eagles, and Eagles 3 years, 49ers 1 year. Before that, he was very successful at Oregon. That's what got him the NFL jobs. Look, he's not one to stand pat. When he took over the Eagles, he got rid of their best talent. It was a head scratcher to me at the time. He showed a lot of guys the door because he did not see them as a fit. He was not afraid to get rid of talent like Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy in his prime and Jeremy Maclin. These guys come to mind. Within 3 years, of course, the Eagles and Chip Kelly parted ways. I guess his idea really didn't work. So I'm very curious about this. I'm very curious as to who is calling the shots at Ohio State. Is Ryan Day just going, all right, just, do your thing? Is Chip Kelly rubbing people the wrong way? It's a very bizarre move and a very bizarre time. Maybe I'm making too much out of it. But if it raises my attention, it gets my attention, I think something's up. Where I smell some smoke, there's always some fire. But we'd love to hear from you guys on that. You can hit me up at Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten and the comments on YouTube, especially you Buckeye fans. What do you think the inside scoop is? Now, I want to hear from you Nebraska fans. Months after signing a contract extension through 2031 with a salary this year of $1.7 million, Nebraska athletic director Trev Alberts, all of a sudden, he's up and leaving the Huskers for the same position at Texas A&M. He is expected to sign a 5-year deal there. Alberts had recently stated some frustration that the Nebraska school regents had not replaced President Ted Carter, who left to become the president of Ohio State. Alberts credited Carter for helping him hire Matt Rule, doing whatever it takes to get that done, and, of course, spearhead a $450 million renovation to Memorial Stadium. Ironically, speaking of Ohio State, Alberts will be replacing the A&M athletic director, Ross Bjork, who is in the process of becoming the athletic director in Columbus. Governor Jim Pillen is in on this as well. He has expressed his disappointment in Albert's decision to leave so soon after signing a contract extension and recommitting to the program. And he hinted at the failures also, though, of the university leadership in this situation. Look, that's kind of weird. Look, Trev Alberts, he's a Nebraska guy through and through. And when he got that job years ago, it seemed like, boom, he'd be there forever. Here's another case, another story we're doing where a guy's making a lateral move, going somewhere else, kind of head scratcher. Now, I will tell you, going to A&M, there's no shortage of money over there. Remember, that's a school that just stroked a check for $76 million to their football coach so they wouldn't coach anymore. Bye-bye. Here's your check. We got plenty of money. Maybe there was something appealing. Maybe Trev Alberts gets a big raise out of the deal. I don't know. But a disappointing day, I think, for Nebraska Cornhuskers fans, because I think the athletic director or the athletic department is rolling pretty well now. Men's basketball is good. Women's basketball had some excitement this year. Volleyball, football, I think Matt Rule is ready to take a step up. I think things are happening there at Lincoln, Nebraska. So we'll see what happens. And no word on who the next AD would be. It's too soon, but we'll keep you posted right here on Lockdown Big Ten. And finally, a quick update out of Penn State. Spring football started on Tuesday. James Franklin announced that 2 players will not participate here in spring football. Drew Shelton, offensive lineman who is expected to start this year, underwent surgery. He appeared in 8 of 13 games on the offensive line this past season. Franklin would not say what kind of surgery that he had, only to say it was an injury that occurred during the season and that he played with it. And now it made sense to get things cleaned up at this time of year. And also, true freshman Garrett Sexton will miss practice this spring as well. He was a 4-star lineman, and he was the 10th ranked offensive lineman in the country. And he was one of 16 early enrollees in January. So just getting his feet wet, but not going to be available for most of this spring. So there's a couple of updates on the offensive line at Penn State with spring football. Hey, if you're checking us out and you're new, be sure to subscribe. It helps us out, and you'll be glad you did. It's free. You can follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. We've got a Big Ten men's basketball tournament in full swing, and former Buckeyes coach Chris Holtmann, he found a job already. He was fired a month ago. He's got a new gig. We'll have all that, plus our picks heading into the weekend. We'll explain that. Got a new twist here today from what we normally do, so hang on. All that is coming up in just a minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. So did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you could still have an IRA? Robinhood is the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right. No cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. The offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info here for you. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker dealer. Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire Stick, the Fire TV stick that you just plug it right into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. And whether it's the opening weekend for baseball coming up, college basketball tournaments going on now, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. And that includes all of us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep you up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and a whole lot more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. They have those. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. That's amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. Thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe. Help us out there on YouTube. Share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget, we got a website too. It's talkbig1010.com for merchandise, ticket information, and all of our podcasts. If you missed a past one, and they're grouped by schools. If you're a favorite, if Wisconsin's your favorite team, we got a Wisconsin section. It's all right there. Going to talk about Wisconsin in just a second. We got here Friday, March 15th, the Ides of March. Here are the quarterfinal schedules for the Big Ten men's basketball tournament. Number 1 seed Purdue, after the double bye, gets going for the first time. They will take on Michigan State. That's at 12 noon. I don't know what time you're watching this or listening to this podcast, but it's at 12 noon And Michigan State's got a lot at stake here. They're kind of on the bubble here. And Tom Izzo's streak of getting Michigan State in the NCAA tournament 25 straight years, that's in jeopardy. Now, if they win and they beat Purdue, a number 1 seed, that's going to be a nice resume builder. Michigan State just beat Minnesota this week, 77-67 on Thursday. So 25 minutes after that game, we'll have Northwestern taking on Wisconsin, which have been dead in the water. Wisconsin. They beat Maryland by 31 points. Wisconsin offenses from like February, March has been horrible. Couldn't hit the side of a barn. They made 16 3-pointers in this game. 16 of 25. Phenomenal. Set all kinds of shooting records. So what's been missing all season, they finally found it here in the tournament. You can catch this game, Northwestern, Boo Buie and company, against now a red-hot Wisconsin team, and that'll be on the Big Ten Network. All the action today, Friday, will be on the Big Ten Network. Later on, the later games, number 2 seed Illinois, they will take on Ohio State. Another great storyline. Ohio State beat Iowa. Ohio State and Iowa were struggling all season and got hot in the last month. So I was very curious to see how that game was going to go. But Ohio State beats Iowa, and now you have to beat them by 12. Now you got to look at, again, I say Jake Diebler's got to get some run for this head coaching job at Ohio State, especially if they beat off a number 2 seed Illinois and keep this run going, right? Got to. And then 25 minutes after that game on Friday, you will have Nebraska, and they will take on the winner of Indiana and Penn State. And all disclosure, while we're taping this podcast, it's halftime, and Indiana is up at the half over Penn State, but Penn State's hanging in there. Anyway, all these will be on the Big Ten Network for your Friday night viewing. Saturday's the semis. First one's at 1 o'clock on CBS. The second one's 25 minutes after that. Of course, the championship, 3:30 on CBS. Selection Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern on CBS. By the way, the women, 8 p.m. on ESPN Eastern time. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Juwan Howard for just a second. Michigan coach. Following Michigan's exit in the Big Ten tournament, following their loss to Penn State on Wednesday night, Howard was asked about his future immediately after the game. And I got to tell you, and then was the 24th loss of the season. Worst ever in Michigan history. He seems surprised by the line of questioning by the media. They were asking him about his job status. You think you're out of here? And he was totally surprised. Says, I didn't know I was being interviewed like a job interview here. Obviously, they didn't want to talk about it, but he insisted that he'll be back for a 6th season next year. Howard has 2 years left on his deal. His buyout is $3 million. It drops to $2 million after July 1st. Athletic director Ward Manuel was at the game, and he said, look, this wasn't the season we all expected, me, Juwan, the players. But he did say that the Wolverines' effort never wavered. So that was I don't know if that was a small vote of confidence or not. The players have also offered support for Juwan Howard. Stay tuned. We'll see what happens. As we mentioned, Chris Holtmann was fired in the middle of the Ohio State season this year. And about a month ago, mid-season, they had a 4-10 conference record at the time. He was about to complete his 7th year as head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. He has landed a new gig already. The Buckeyes season isn't even over, and he's already got a new gig. How about that? At DePaul. DePaul also had a pretty woeful year this year. He'll get a 6-year deal to try and turn the Blue Demons around. Holtmann replaces Tony Stubblefield, who was fired in January after a 3-15 start. It was going over, and they didn't win any games after that either. They finished the season 3-28, winless in the Big East. I mean, 0-20, 0-20 in the Big East. So Chris Holtmann has a big job ahead of him there. Hey, I want you to, so while we're talking about this college basketball, I want you to mark your calendar for Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown. They got a show on Monday, March 18th, 7 a.m. Eastern time. Experts Andy Patton and Isaac Shade will break down their brackets and discuss everything you need to know to fill out a winning bracket yourself and prepare for this year's NCAA tournament. So you can find the Locked On Bracket Breakdown on Monday, March 18th on the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. So check that out. All right. We do our picks in our final segment of the week, whether it be pigskin picks during football season, basketball picks going into the weekend. We don't really know what the schedule is going to be for the semifinals as we sit here today. So we're going to do something a little different. Pulled out the odds of teams to win the national championship. We'll let you know which Big Ten teams are and what their odds are. We will do all that. It's coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. And just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. I'm talking about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I love talking about them. They're just fun. We talked about them a lot here today. Basketball, their AD's leaving, a lot of stuff going on. But they are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue, if you will. The team absolutely surprised us, all of us, with a powerful performance, going undefeated at home in Big Ten play this season and giving them momentum going into the Big Ten tournament, earning the double bye. They say, win life, go Rogue. That's exactly what the Huskers have done here. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada. Go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. That's NissanUSA.com. And passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, I am going to put on the screen here a couple of things. I'm going to put up our betting odds for the national championship with college basketball. I'm going to put it up full screen here so you can see it, and I'm going to get rid of that. There you go. All right, so here's what we got. In fact, I'm going to get rid of all of this here. One more thing, just bear with me. There we go. Nice and clean. There we go. So I've listed a group of teams on the front end here. I haven't listed every team in America with their odds, but UConn has the best odds of winning the national championship, by the way, from our FanDuel odds here. Plus 500. Houston right there. Kelvin Sampson's group at plus 600. Purdue is the highest ranking Big Ten team at plus 700, and Arizona rounds out the top four at plus 1,000. Then Tennessee, I kind of like Tennessee, plus 1,100. North Carolina's really playing well at plus 1,800, and Auburn at plus 2,000. Kentucky at plus 2,200. Duke at plus 2,500, and Kansas, which has really been struggling, and they got injuries. Plus 2,500. I don't know. I don't have high hopes. I don't know if I'd sprinkle anything on Kansas right now. There were two more Big Ten teams in the grouping, so I've added them here. Illinois, plus 3,000 to win it all. The whole thing, not just the Big Ten tournament, the NCAA tournament. And Michigan State is in there at plus 6,600. And that's if they get in. So those are the betting odds. Thank you, FanDuel, for the national championship to win it all. I don't know. What do you think about that? I think, I don't know. I think Houston. I think Tennessee. North Carolina is playing well. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know about Purdue. Purdue, you got to show me. Show me that you can do it in the month of March, friends. That's right. Maybe Illinois. Not so optimistic about Michigan State. So anyway, there you have it. Those are the betting odds to win the national championship. So let me know what you think. You can hit me up on Twitter and of course X at Talk Big Ten. Love to hear from you there. And also, you can hit us up on our website at talkbig10 10.com and comments on YouTube. Hit us up all the time. Love it. Be sure to subscribe, though, and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. You'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it's available each day. Hey, and don't forget our friends at Locked On have Locked On Sports Today 24/7 for you. You might want to check that out after a few more Locked On Big Ten podcasts. Go and go back and catch some past ones as well. Have a great weekend. Going to be watching all the basketball tournaments. Spring football is going. We'll be back Monday with more stories on both the football and the basketball, and answering some of your texts and notes and comments on YouTube and Twitter along the way. Have a great weekend. Thanks for checking us out. Tell your friends about us here at Locked On Big Ten, especially if they're Big Ten alumni. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten.